think one of my greatest curses has always been the pursuit of perfection without the definition of what perfection actually is. You know, what is it? What is perfection? This car is far from perfect. You know, it has, some stress marks in the paint protection film. It has a few rock chips. You know, it still has some squeaks and rattles. And so is the perfect scenario the fact that things are imperfect. My entire business is based on pursuing perfection, but all the things that are attached to that happen to be things that help you pursue it, knowing farewell that nothing is truly perfect. Is the anchor of the obsession. And the cars are just chapters in a book. And 997 to me is a really important chapter in that book, in the progression, the progressive steps of the vehicles I've been so fortunate to own in my life. And to this point, at this chapter of my life, the 997 GT3 RS is the pinnacle of that, of the obsession and the love of cars. And I think it's been an important part of the journey, and what better way to experience it than to include all of you in that chapter. And so this current chapter has been a little different than I had written it originally, but it's actually quite a bit sweeter. So my story of a 997 GT3 RS, this year, model years 2010, 2011, it wasn't at that time in my life. I was 30 years old. I was in my late 20s when they announced the .2 generation, the second iteration of the 997 version of a GT3. It really wasn't something that I had my sights set on. I was very heavily focused on pursuing and chasing an Audi S4 and a BMW M3. But the GT3 is something that I'd always hoped that I would get. I'd always thought that would be my steps as I sort of work my way up the car ladder. Even to this point today, I don't know that I can really see beyond having a bunch of GT3s as sort of the pinnacle of what I would hope to acquire and to get to experience. But back when I'm in S4 and M3 mode, coming off my Honda days, sort of as I graduated, the GT3 was not really a practical idea. Then in 2013-14, I started to achieve some success, some career success. And so, maybe it was time to start thinking, 911, how would I progress? How would I get one? And I knew that in order to make this step, I was gonna have to give up my beloved, E92 M3. I wasn't gonna be able to do both. And I also knew that if I was gonna buy a $100,000+ car, that I was gonna have to still have a, quote unquote daily driver. And so I had a V8 S4 and I had the E92 M3 at the same time. And so I decided I'll keep the S4, that'll be my beater. I'll let the E92 go and someday I'll get another one. And so I ordered a 2014 911 Carrera S. And so I missed this generation. I missed the 997. The 997 was sort of the start of my real love affair with the 911, but I missed that. I was just a little too young. But it's still, you're talking about $160,000, $170,000, $180,000 car, and I was making a real personal sacrifice to buy something that was, just over $100,000, making some sacrifices financially and whatever house we were going to get, whatever amount of money I was able to fund my 401k in order to pursue this passion, pursue this chase. And so I made the purchase of the 991 generation Carrera S with the hope that a GT3 would come someday. And so skipping over the 997 generation is one of the decisions that I made. Certainly I could have bought a used version of one of those cars, but I wanted new. I wanted to experience that what it was like to order the car and track it across the ocean and journal that experience. And at that point in my life, a used car was not something that I was really considering. I needed the car from scratch. I didn't have the skill set that I have today at repairing paint. I didn't have the relationships that I have now with guys that can remove dents or put paint protection film on cars or repair interiors or install stereos. I was doing it all on my own, and so I didn't have the personal skill or the Rolodex in order to be able to pursue something that was, at the condition this was when I got it. So buying the new 911 experience was amazing until it wasn't. That car ended up having a stumbling issue. A certain percentage of the 991 generation, and Porsche's recommendation was just drive it harder. Well, me with my newly diagnosed obsessive compulsive disorder, that just wasn't a real practical thing for me to accept. And so that was when I made the life decision to lose the money on a relatively new car, it was 6 months old, to pursue the 991 GT3. Now, I'm not sure what I was thinking, considering that the 2014 GT3s had a stop sale. They were recalled. The engines were swapped. They had an oiling issue that caused some major problems with the vehicle. They stopped all the sales. So a lot of people backed out of orders, and for some reason I thought it would have been a good idea that Porsche wouldn't leave us hanging again. So I'm going to trade my car that was flawed and having an issue for a car that literally was recalled. And luckily for me, that decision worked out really well. That sapphire blue GT3 changed my entire life as I knew it. That car is responsible for all of you that that are watching this video. Without that thing, I don't think anyone would have listened to a word I would have said. But I still had this thing, so I've gotten the GT3. I've since had progressive steps in many other cars, including several GT3 RSs. But I still had always thought, I'd always envisioned I'd go back and complete the chapter with my Civic Si, which you saw me do. I would go back and I would get that E92 that got away, the Le Mans blue car, which you've seen me do. I would go back to the 997 and I would get one, and I would keep it, and I would hold on to it forever. Fast forward to today, there's 541, I believe, of these cars in North America, with 490-ish in the United States. Supply and demand, you have 500 of one of the most sought-after cars in the world, and you end up with what once was a very practical sports car running away from me and all of us. And so I thought, maybe I just won't get one. Maybe I won't be able to complete that chapter. Until this year, a friend of mine, my friends at Titan Motorsports in Orlando, got a hold of an example of a car that was in really good condition, needed the love of an obsessed person like myself, and my gears started turning. And so I started talking to the guys here. I said, what if we did something really great? What if we took a huge risk? What if I bought the car that I really can't afford at this point in my life? And what if we included the audience? What if we did a giveaway or a raffle or whatever you want to call it? What if we tried to change somebody's life by giving them not only my dream car, but pretty much everyone's dream chapter of your car guy progression, your car guy novel. What would it be? What would it be like if I did something like that? Could I get a car, obsess over it for 6 or 8 months, and then put some more money into it? How much would it take? Do we have the resources to do that? And then can I engage enough people to make something like this happen? I'm 43 years old, but imagine like 13-year-old Matt in the trailer park. I'm out here at a private airstrip in a 997 GT3. Could you freaking imagine? Holy crap, dude. I have full carte blanche to do whatever I want. Oh my gosh. So this car is, again, this is the mechanical embodiment of pure driving perfection. Just the analog perfection, man. Sound, oh my gosh, the sound. Oh man, it's so good. This has been really hard for me. I'd always envisioned I'm gonna come back to the 997 GT3. I'm gonna get one. But I'm gonna come back to one that somebody put in a car capsule that didn't touch it, that took it to Cars and Coffee twice, and otherwise shined it with a microfiber diaper and left the thing alone. And all I would have to do is do my little bit of obsession on it, and I would take a 1,000-mile car, I'd invest in that underused car, and then I get to be the one to put the miles on it. I get to be the one to wash it. I get to be the first one to drive it in the rain. The problem with it is that these cars have run away from us price-wise, and so to get something like that is impractical. And so the decision to purchase this one that has seen a lot of time on the track, I'm sure it's seen a lot of rain. I'm sure it's seen a lot of dirt. In fact, I know it's seen a lot of it because I removed a lot of that dirt. It has some love marks on it. It has some chips underneath the paint protection film. It had a bunch of broken panels on the inside and sticky radio buttons or stereo knobs. It required me to clean the dirt out of the seatbelt crevices. That to me was scary, something I wasn't sure I was up for the task, and to spend a significant amount of money on this thing and not have it be that showroom perfect is a really tough pill to swallow. But I tell you what, I got back on Renlist on the Porsche forum and started journaling all the things I was doing. I've really enjoyed this experience. And then the idea that I was going to do this giveaway thing also helped me sleep at night, helped me enjoy the process. I really didn't have any other big projects going on. This was my focus for the last 6 months. And I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed that. I really appreciated the fact that the car is a driver's car. It's not just a museum piece. Whoever gets this thing is not going to feel guilty about taking it on the track. And yet, anybody who walks up to this thing looks at the interior, looks at the exterior, looks at the new wheels, looks at the new calipers, looks at all the things that we did to it, the cleaning and all the detail that's gone into this car. And to me, it's ended up being quite a bit more satisfying than I think it would have been had I bought some museum piece. For those of you who don't know this, I have a real struggle with obsessive compulsive disorder and driving. And so for me to get behind the wheel and drive on an unfamiliar road has been a really hard thing for me to do. And you know, I feel like this car has helped that a bit, in that, you know, knowing that I really do love this thing. I'm really excited to share it with everybody, but I'm also, you know, it doesn't have 1,200 miles on it. It's been driven, it's been used, it's been to the track, and now it's been restored. But it's really helped me sort of re-assimilate myself back onto the road and be able to even do something like this. I'd be having a really hard time with panic attacks and stuff like that if I was driving this maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago. So it's been a part of that pathway back. Now I'm not fully back, and I still haven't been able to drive in the mountains and things, but I have been able to get behind the wheel and, you know, do this sort of thing. Has been really cool. Just listen. I'll shut up. Just listen to this thing. Doesn't get much better than that, people. Let's see if I can do it. Man, you see all these cars. I never would have thought. I always knew I'd get an M3 someday. At least I told myself that, even from a young age. I just didn't think I'd ever get here and give away this thing. It's insane. There it is, the first 911. This car almost sent me off the deep end. This was my transition from attaching my, I guess my sanity to perfection. If there was a scratch, if there was a stumble, if there was a rattle, it would affect my life. It would affect my psyche. Oh, the fart machine. Gosh, I still think this is one of the best looking cars ever built, the F80 M3. But this progression, you know, the 14 GT3 changed the whole thing. It's what set this whole thing up. The ability to have this car behind me and give the darn thing away. Oh man, I can't believe it. I couldn't believe that I had this thing. First time I went to the Smoky Mountains was in this car, and I'll never forget being behind my friend Sean, and I thought we were just gonna kind of curve through the hills, and to be with, you know, 9 other GT3s at Redline and some of the coolest driving roads in America, man. I think every car guy's book, you know, although you may not have had as many cars, maybe you've had a lot more cars, I think every car guy's book looks something like this, where it's an important part of your life. I hope that it's not the whole book, but it is a significant part. I've never attached or placed any of my self-worth to my cars. but I've certainly placed a lot of energy, a lot of effort, a lot of love in them. And they're part of what's molded me as a human. I'm really grateful for the progression in cars that I've been able to have. I didn't just get whatever the version of a Lamborghini or a Ferrari is for you right off the bat. I've had to fight for it. I've had to work for it. I don't feel complete. I don't feel like all my chapters have been written in the middle of my life here. I don't think that I think there might be more. There might be more collection, more cars that I hold for longer periods of time. But I don't think there's much greater. I don't think that the pursuit of a 918, I don't think the pursuit of a Koenigsegg, I just, maybe because the last chapter's here blacked out, maybe I just can't see it. I guess if you were to ask the 30-year-old version of me, I wouldn't have been able to see this either. I think that's what it's all about. If we knew it, certainly you can want it, you can pursue it, but if you know it, then what's the point? That's been the biggest lessons I've learned, and that's what a lot of these cars have taught me. Going back to the first chapter, that original E92 and the first chapter of this book, man, the car I just loved too much. I didn't want to take it anywhere. I didn't want to put the miles on it. I didn't want to get a bug splatter on it. I didn't want anybody to put a door ding in it. Many of those chapters, I was already looking to the next. I wasn't reading the words as they were being presented to me. I wasn't experiencing the car. I was either obsessing over the perfection or lack of perfection of the car, and then always thinking about the next one. And I can only hope that the future, the other half of this book, the other half of the chapters are half as good as the first chapters have been, but I do hope that I can be more present for them as they come and go, and be appreciative of them, or really understand what those feelings I'm having, that feeling of gratitude, now that I'm able to define that personally. I'm hoping that I'll continue to be able to experience that and enjoy it even more, simply due to maybe slowing down the pursuit a bit, having been able to experience some of these things. Today, I can learn to appreciate when there's a dent or a ding, and having the opportunity to have a relationship with somebody that can help me take it out, fix it. And I can make a video about that and then share it with you, and then we can connect. And so the cars are what unites everybody. The cars are the glue in between the pages of my story. They're not the story, but it's an important component in it. As the new chapters are written, I think the chapters are clearer, the chapters are maybe a little simpler, the chapters are a little bit more defined. Less worried about what the next chapter is.